There was presidents involved and former presidents involved that were contacting Spotify. Oh yeah, trying to get me removed.
Everyone, you're going to want to hear this. Joe Rogan recently opened up about how, according to him, the establishment tried to go after him publicly a few years ago. And if his account is accurate, the situation was far more complicated than most people realized at the time. In today's video, we'll walk through the full story, examine the key moments, and explain why it's still generating discussion. Be sure to subscribe, and let's get started.
Well, the position that I was in during the COVID thing was very unique. So it was almost easy for me because I'd gotten such a head start. I was so far ahead of them. They didn't realize that my ability to say, wait, this doesn't make any sense. Like, none of this makes any sense. And also, why am I green? And also, why are you guys lying? Why are you lying about all sorts of different things? I was in a unique position to be able to do that because I had almost quietly snuck up to this and had this large audience that they weren't aware of.
Yeah.
So when it happened, it was just like I couldn't do anything other than what I did. I had to just keep doing it the way I did it.
This story continues to stand out because when Joe Rogan announced at the height of the pandemic that he had tested positive, many major news outlets immediately focused on the news. Some of the coverage accurately reported the facts, while other reactions were criticized by Rogan and his supporters as appearing overly eager to portray the situation in the worst possible light. One of the most controversial moments involved CNN, which Rogan and others accused of airing footage that appeared noticeably altered in color, making him look much different than he did in the original video. Supporters pointed out that the same clip remained on Rogan's Instagram page with normal coloring, fueling accusations that the television version had been presented differently. But that wasn't the only topic he revisited. What you're about to hear looks back at a period during the Biden administration that Rogan described as one of the most chaotic chapters of that era.
The blowback was crazy. They tried to crush my sponsors. They organized campaigns. And then there's the Streisand thing. Like, you try to silence something, you're just going to make it bigger. If they had kicked me off of Spotify and I had to go to Rumble, it would have just blown Rumble's stock up, and it would have helped everybody.
Yeah. I didn't know that there was that much going on in your life.
I can't even talk about it. But there was presidents involved and former presidents involved that were contacting Spotify. Oh, wow. Yeah, trying to get me removed for vaccine misinformation.
When it comes to this topic, many people assume Joe Rogan was referring primarily to the Biden administration, especially since officials, such as the former Surgeon General and the CDC, publicly urged social media platforms to address content they believe contained misinformation. Rogan also mentioned earlier administrations, and some observers have speculated he could have been referring to former President Obama, who delivered a speech at Stanford in 2022 discussing the role of internet platforms in limiting the spread of misinformation. Around that same period, Obama also announced a podcast partnership with Spotify. That connection has led some commentators to speculate about whether Rogan is limited in what he can publicly say about Spotify, although there is no confirmed evidence that he is bound by a non-disclosure agreement preventing him from discussing the matter. When the controversy surrounding Rogan gained national attention in 2022, several musicians announced they would remove their music from Spotify in protest, arguing that the platform should take stronger action over claims of misinformation. The campaign attracted support from a number of public figures, including Bruce Springsteen's guitarist. Even so, Spotify's CEO declined to remove Rogan's podcast, choosing instead to keep the platform's most popular show despite mounting pressure from critics who wanted tougher action against his content.
Single apology from anybody, not a single retraction, not a single, mea culpa, not a single we were wrong. And, I lost a lot of sponsors. I lost a lot during those days. It was interesting. There was a time where it was working.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was that much coordination.
Oh, there was a lot of coordination.
People are going to be.
I don't talk about it too much because it's pretty deep. It was nuts, but it didn't work, right? But they tried, and they tried it out. They spent a lot of money. It wasn't a small amount of money. It wasn't a small amount of people. It was a lot of people and a lot of money.
Looking back, many people see that period as one of the most contentious in recent memory. Critics argue there was an expectation that the public would simply accept these efforts without much resistance. Instead, a significant number of people pushed back, saying they were unwilling to give in to that kind of pressure. They also point to what they view as an irony. Some of the same voices that once supported stronger moderation policies are now speaking out in defense of free speech, as several late-night television hosts have lost their shows amid declining ratings. Those critics argue that, during that period, government officials and major institutions worked closely with online platforms to discourage or limit certain discussions on a variety of topics. In their view, Joe Rogan's experience was just one high-profile example of a much broader debate over speech, media influence, and the limits of public discourse that played out repeatedly over the past several years.